Hello everyone. I wanted to make a video about this this trending movement that's happening right now called Kony 2012. Now, if you're not sure what's going on, there's a movie or video that's been produced by a Invisible Children Productions or something like that, or some kind of charity, by this guy who has been working for a couple years, I guess now, to raise awareness about Joseph Kony, who, if you're not familiar with him, he is a type of rebel militia leader who lives in the Congo in Uganda, who abducts children and has basically instigated a campaign of terror in that region, so he can gain power and etc., etc. He calls it the Lord's Resistance Army, as if it has something to do with the apocalypse or Armageddon or whatever. I mean, this guy has been a problem for 25, 26 years now, abducting children and just causing terror and mayhem in that region. And for some reason, nobody wants to go after him. For some reason, there's no incentive to take him down. Now, ask yourself that. Why, after 26 years, has no government or anything gone after him? I mean, are you fucking serious? If it was some first world country and there was some psycho out in the forest doing this kind of thing, they would have had him already, because he's a threat to their first world empire. But since this is in the third world, nobody gives a shit. He's actually probably, you know, something of an asset to these people. When you have this boogeyman loose in the forests, then the people of Uganda immediately turn to the government for protection. If you have this boogeyman out there, they immediately say, "Oh, government, save me, protect me, help me." I was watching this documentary, Kony 2012, and the guy, he just nonchalantly says how that the United States hasn't gone after him because there's no resource or there's no economic or quote-unquote security incentive to go after him. Bro, is that what you really think that this is all about? This is about projecting American power. This is about keeping American dominance in the world. That's why that we go and set up bases in third world countries all over the place. That's why we invade and take out puppet dictators dictators who don't agree with us, and set up our own little puppet dictator governments all over the place, because we want to dominate the freaking world. We don't care about anything that doesn't have to do with that. Children being raped and killed in Africa and being thrown in the Lord's Resistance Army, who gives a fuck? Nobody cares. In our government anyway, because it doesn't have anything to do directly with American military, economic, or, you know, social power. That's all that we give a shit about. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good that people are taking an interest in things like this. Don't think that I'm coming across like just 100% critical. Like, I don't think that there's anything good that can come out of this. But I think if you want to be 100% about change, if you want to be 100% about making the world into heaven on earth, then you need to be 100% about it. You can't be just 45%, you can't be just 30%, you can't be just 20%. You have to be 100%. And that means that essence of compassion, service, helping your fellow man that you're grasping for, it can't just be something grasped for. It has to be something imbued in people. It has to be something that people cherish and people is actually, you know, seen as something valuable by society. So if anything, I think that the real campaign should be to make people see that compassion is valuable, to change people's hearts one by one, and not just to fight each individual issue while the real problem is sitting there looking at you in the mirror. So, I mean, I think the whole documentary is like based on a kind of hokey-pokey, mainstream, kind of cheesy view of the world. You know, I want to read to you a blog that's going around Reddit right now that says the Kony 2012 campaign is a fraud. Let me read this. The problems with the Kony 2012 campaign. Okay, let's get this out of the way first. The basic idea of the campaign is great, to raise awareness about a war of criminal that uses child soldiers and sex slaves. Unfortunately, the whole campaign seems to be missing the bigger political picture. I think this is nicely demonstrated in the statement of its second goal, quote-unquote, that the U.S. military advisors support the Ugandan army until Kony has been captured and the LRA is completely disarmed. They need to follow all the way through and finish what has been started. This statement not only suggests that the campaign is in favor of U.S. intervention, but is completely uncritical of the Ugandan government and its army, both of whom are by no means the good guys in this. I can't be bothered into going too much detail, but there are a few key points. 1. The Ugandan government is a dictatorship with Yoweri Museveni as the president since 1986. Among many of its human rights violations, the regime tortures prisoners, oppresses other political parties and the press, and also wishes to introduce a bill that would have convicted homosexuals, quote-unquote, put to death. In the civil war in which Yoweri Museveni gained power, child soldiers were also used by his army, the National Resistance Army, which is now the Army of Uganda but under a different name. The Ugandan army, or rather its high-ranking officers, have been using ghost soldiers, quote-unquote, soldiers who are no longer on the payroll, to siphon off funds, making the war even more profitable for them than usual, giving them a vested interest in its continuation. That's exactly what I'm saying, man. If this war has been going on for 20, 30 years, it's because people have a vested interest in continuing it. The problem isn't just like, as you say, that people just don't know about Joseph Kony. I knew about him. I've known about him for years. People have known about this guy. The problem is that we live in a world in which people actually benefit from people like Joseph Kony. People in power actually benefit from people like Joseph Kony. So you go ahead and take down Joseph Kony. Go ahead. You know, spend all his time to take down this one guy. Which is good. I think he should be taken down. He's an evil person. I think it should be done, you know, by the people of Uganda. If we can help them, you know, in any way possible, that's good. I don't know about U.S. military intervention per se. There has to be some way we can do this without, you know, involving the U.S. military. You know, some other way to the civilian force or anything like that. But see, the government, it doesn't want civilian answers. It doesn't want community-based responses. It doesn't want networks in the first world communicating with each other and going to solve problems in the third world. It wants us to rely on American intervention in order to solve these problems. Is that really the answer to this? Is that what we really need in Uganda, is American intervention? Continuing. War is profitable, especially for large arms companies such as in the U.S. and the UK. U.S. military advisor support, quote-unquote, may as well say, we want the U.S. and its arms manufacturers, dealers, to sell to the Ugandan government a shit ton more weapons. I'm sure there are many more points that can be made, but this is still a really basic explanation that barely goes into any detail. But even a single one of these points is enough to be critical of the campaign and its support of the Ugandan army. Seriously, it's asking like these guys are like good guys here. If the campaign really wants to be truly supportive of the human rights, it needs to recognize that Kony is not the only war criminal. All warmongering is a crime against humanity. And this was written by Unknown. I have to say bravo to you, Unknown. I really admire when anybody has the balls and the audacity to stand up against something like this, which the public is so enthralled by in its ignorance. You know, most people, when they hear something like this, they're like, yeah, let's go get Joseph Kony and stuff. They don't realize on a daily basis how you support things like this. You don't realize on a daily basis by the food you eat, the places you choose to shop, the TV shows you choose to watch, the ideas that you choose to entertain. You are promoting just as much terrorism as supporting Joseph Kony with your lifestyle, with your desires, your thoughts, your mind. Your mind is completely wired into their framework. That's why this guy that made this video is unable to really see that it's not an accident that this guy has been in power for 26 years. It's not just his own, you know, devisings that have kept him in power like that. It's been a protracted campaign by governments, special interest groups, etc. Like the people that want to sell guns and bullets, people who profiteer from that sort of thing. like the kind of people that run our government, who control what gets done. The Halliburton Industries CEO, Dick Cheney, for example, starting wars over there and profiting from them at the same time. If you really want to stop things like this, the answer is not to just go on trying to fix things like this one by one, per se. Although there's a place for that, but it has to be grounded in the right awareness. It has to be grounded in the right knowledge, is my point. The real campaign should be to educate people. The real power of your video that you were going for was to try to educate people. Okay, the educating people doesn't stop at just saying, here's the bad guy, go get him, and we're the good guys. Wrong. You should really tell the truth, that we're just as bad as him for sitting over here in our rich countries and not giving a damn, supporting businesses that exploit the third world, supporting governments that exploit the third world, and then somehow we go and we say, oh, here's a third world guy who's exploiting the third world. What about us? Where's our, Kony 2012 videos about us? There should be a American Citizen 2012 video showing the horrors that the American citizen perpetrates on a daily basis by going to get gas from these people, by going to buy your food and stuff from Walmart, by having these ideas and holding these toxic thought forms. There should be a video about that, about how all the evil in this world stems from that, not from some random guy out there in Africa, which, by the way, I hope that they take him down. I mean, it's bad, of course. Nobody wants kids to suffer. Of course, nobody wants kids to suffer. Of course. And I think that this is a great opportunity for people to get together and to rally behind this cause. But at the same time, I have to be very critical about what I'm seeing, because, like I've said, it's just not 100%. It's not 100% wisdom. It's just a partial understanding. It's a partial truth. Hell, it might even be a psyop. It might even be deliberate misinformation. We don't know that. We'll have to see, how this ends. But it seems to promote, the mainstream idea that America is this benevolent force, or at the very least, America is a benevolent force that acts in its own self-interest only, or something like this. Whatever the hell he was trying to get at.